When my mother was 16, she used to take babysitting jobs in the town that she lived in Massachusetts. She took a job that was an overnighter to watch 2 young boys. She got to the house around 2 in the afternoon. One of the boys was 5 and the other only 2. The parents said goodbye to their kids. Once the parents left, the children said they wanted to play outside. It was around 4:45 p.m. when they went back inside to watch TV while my mom got dinner ready. Once everything was in the oven, it was around 5:30. She sat down with the boys to watch television until dinner was ready. She noticed something odd. There was a car parked directly across from the house. This wouldn't seem odd to most people, but the house didn't have many neighbors nearby. My mother brushed it off and had the boys come to the table. Once bedtime rolled around, she read them 3 short stories and put them to sleep. When she returned downstairs, she heard a noise that sounded like a doorknob shaking. My mother doesn't freak out easily. She went by the front door to check things out, but nothing was there. She brushed it off, thinking that she was being paranoid. As she sat on the couch and watched TV, she dozed off. But she was awoken a short time later by the sound of someone trying to pick the lock. This is when she became frightened. By the time she got up and checked the door, the noise had stopped. The thought crossed her mind that maybe she was just hearing things. But when she went to go settle back on the couch, she suddenly heard a slamming sound. She looked out the window near the television and saw someone's hand slowly dragging down the window's surface. She screamed, then ran upstairs to wake up the kids and lock herself in the room with them while she called the police. They ran to her scared because they didn't know what was going on. Before she could get her phone out, she heard a slamming from downstairs, as if someone was trying to kick down the front door. She called the cops, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. My mom finished off the night with the kids while police watched the house. After that night, my mom refused to babysit kids overnight ever again. This story is told from the point of view of a female. I'm a college student in my second year at university. Overall, it's pretty nice. Freedom is pretty cool, if you call having a curfew and strict dorm regulations freedom. Anyways, my grades are decent, and there is a few attractive guys in my class. However, currently, I'm sort of stuck, as my entire campus is on lockdown. The text to alert students of the lockdown came around 8 o'clock this morning, and we haven't heard a word since. I room with 2 other girls, a hyper redhead named Allie and a girl from Africa named Samantha. Both of them are nice enough, and we all get along well. At first, the 3 of us just assumed it was a drill. They have those occasionally. That they just wanted to ensure that everything was okay, and that the emergency alarm system was working properly, and that students know how to respond. However, those tend to stop pretty quickly. It's been hours. Not to mention the yelling we heard at the beginning, though it could have just been the initial panic. It ended up stopping about an hour into the lockdown, though it did scare the daylights out of Samantha. Before anyone questions our safety precautions, we have the blinds down and the doors locked. There's a very small wooden chair shoved under the handle, though I doubt that would do much. Sam and Allie attempted to push the dresser from the bedroom to the door. According to protocol, we're supposed to barricade all possible exits. But the doorway is so small that we can't fit the damn thing in there. Figures that the college board, being a bunch of cheapskates, will cost us our lives. I always joke about it, them being so cheap, but I didn't really think it would actually become a problem in the future. I know I may be overreacting, but are lockdowns really supposed to last this long? Internet and cell service keeps cutting in and out. It's so hard to contact the people in the other dorms. Though Samantha managed to get a hold of her mom briefly, she wasn't aware of the lockdown. She said there wasn't anything on the news. I guess that rules out school shooter, because reporters always end up on site as it's happening. I figured posting this here would at least give me something to focus on. Allie and Sam are talking about checking out around the hallways. Maybe we can find some students who actually know what's going on. My college is a pretty decent size, so it shouldn't be that hard to find someone. I figure if we don't hear anything in the next couple of hours, we should look around. It may have just been a false alarm. Either way, I'll be sure to make an update as soon as I know what's going on. Last night at around 9, Samantha decided that she had enough. Allie and I chickened out, so we stayed here. Sam said that she would be right back. She was going to try to find someone and figure out what's going on, but she hasn't come back. Neither Allie nor I have heard anything. It looks like there are a few posts on social media from other confused students, but all of them are in the same situation we are. There was a brief talk about meeting up, but if Sam didn't come back, I don't know what to think about that. We've also tried to call the police, but they keep hanging up on us. I really don't know what to do. It's been a hectic week. Last time I updated this, Samantha had just left, and it was mostly quiet. After I attempted to call the police, Allie and I spent most of the night studying. Exams are important, and it gave us something to do while we waited. I guess I passed out sometime the night before, because I woke up to the sound of police sirens outside. There was blood. Everywhere. I mean everywhere. On the floor, the walls, and even on the ceiling of the hallways. Over a fourth of our student population is missing. And that isn't counting the bodies that they did manage to find. They were torn apart by something. After the police escorted the remaining students out of their dorms, most of them just went home. My school isn't a very large one, so we all lost at least one person. No one knows where the missing are. The officer said that they try to keep situations like this out of the public eye. God only knows what that means. If your college starts giving an alarm, don't brush it off. Barricade yourself immediately. And if someone knows what happened to Samantha, please tell me.
True frightening experiences. Number 1. I live on the Flathead Reservation, so sometimes it can feel like I'm isolated from the outside world, and to make matters worse, I live up in the mountains deep away from town. It's about a mile to get to the highway, and the closest neighbor is roughly half a mile away. It was a dark night, as all scary stories start out. The night was cloudy and had little moonlight to barely see where you were. I was visiting my aunt before leaving to go home. Since I've walked home many times before, my auntie said I could go ahead home early since she'd been drinking and probably wasn't coming home that night. Since we live so deep in the mountains, it's only natural to hear animals around you. I was only so far before I heard footsteps. I thought it was my aunt, so I stopped and waited for her. I called my aunt's name, and the footsteps stopped. My auntie always had trouble with her legs, so I thought it was strange that she'd try to walk home. I knew she would need help, so I walked over to where the sounds were. I saw a figure which was too big to be my aunt, who was only 5'3", and this figure was about 5'9". Don't misunderstand, it's always unnerving, and walking this time was no different. I didn't know what to do, so I turned around and ran. It was stupid, but I was scared at the moment. I only realized that he was following me as there were loud crunches of footsteps behind me. I saw my house come into the distance and ran to unlock the door. I was scared and I slammed the door and locked it. As I settled down, I remembered that no one was coming home. I live with my auntie and uncle, and neither was coming home that night. I scrambled to check the house because, after running, I was paranoid. I checked around and locked the doors and such. It was a little after midnight when I heard something in the back of my house. We have a trailer in the back which is far from the house but still visible. The trailer was broken and run down, so it couldn't go anywhere anymore. Once again, I heard some movement from the back of the house. I only heard it because we have some trash back there that we store until we're ready to dispose of it, and I could hear some faint crumpling. I was too scared to go check it out myself, so I hid near the front of the house for about an hour in uneasiness until I finally called my auntie, who was still awake and drinking. Despite being pretty drunk and the friend she was staying with being asleep, my aunt woke her friend up and told her to call the police after I told her what was going on at the house. Being on the reservation and in such an isolated location, the cops took about an hour to show up. When they arrived, I was fairly nervous as they searched the place and asked me questions. After searching the land, they decided to search the trailer to see if they could find any more evidence of a possible break-in there. While doing so, they discovered evidence that someone had been living in the trailer. This evidence showed that whoever had been staying there had been living there for a couple of months or so. After that night, and the next morning, the police couldn't find the man. After that night, I have never seen him again. I'm way more cautious when I walk around now, especially at night.